So this is a video a short video intended to provide a documentation of the condition of these Patagonia-Danner Foot Tractor sticky rubber sole boots after 2 years of use. So I purchased these 2 years ago and began using them in early June 2019, and since that time I've used them on a total of 76 wade fishing trips, during which I walked a total of roughly 253 miles. That's averaging 3.3 miles per trip. I have exclusively wade fished in these boots, and on those trips, most of them were what I call full day trips. They're of at least 8 hours in duration, but 24 of them were shorter trips that were about 2 to 4 hours in duration. So when I'm fishing, I'm usually fishing on Freestone River. So it has a number of different characteristics depending on in terms of terrain. There's some mix of larger rocks in some areas to cobble of varying sizes, to small gravel to even sand in some places. So it's a variety, but mostly what I'm walking on is cobble, kind of small to medium-sized cobble in a lot of cases. In terms of the river terrain, the hiking terrain is varied also, mostly walking on well-worn trails. Some of those are mostly dirt and vegetation, covered in dirt, vegetation, gravel. But sometimes you're walking over a riverbed, dry cobble riverbed, and occasionally doing a bit of bushwhacking over some downed trees, downed foliage of various sorts that can has the potential to cause some scrapes on your boots. So just to try and focus in a little closer so you can get a little better look at the state of the boots. So one thing I'll point out is that when they're new, I have gravel guards that I wear with my wading socks and my waders that basically protect the upper half of the boot. And so basically this upper half of the boot, you can see this gray, shiny, glossy gray appearance of the leather on this upper portion of the boot, and the nice clean cordura area here. That's representative effectively of, aside from some creases, what the boot looks like when it's new in terms of that leather. So that provides a good comparison for the aging of the boot when one moves down to the bottom areas of the boot. So you can see here, these are some of the areas where you see the most wear down here on the heel and on the back of the heel, which I'll show you in a moment. Some wear along the lower side of each foot, as you'll see in a moment. The greatest wear you'll see on the toe of the boot. This leather on the toe seems to have the most abuse, as you might imagine. But I'd say aside from the scuffing and of that glossy factory leather coating, which on the toe happened pretty much within the first year for me. Aside from that, there's some scuffs there, but there's no evidence here of punctures or of any sort. Let's have another look at the side view of this boot. And you can see again that's the scuffing that's along the bottom there. Although right adjacent to the sole here, you can see there's a sort of an area that's been protected a bit, and it's not nearly as worn. There's an image of the heel on that side, and then there's an image of the heel at the back of this particular boot, and we can go up to the top here, have a look at that. Okay, so and we'll just to give you another little look. There's a little bit of wear on the tongue, and that's some wear that's due to, in part, well, largely due to lacing, where the lacing crosses across the top of the tongue here. And if we go inside, I'll do my best to show you what it looks like on the inside of these boots. It's also in pretty good shape. I don't see signs of things falling apart on the inside here. The insole that they come with is remained in pretty good shape. Seems to still have plenty of cushioning. The place where I've seen the most wear on the boots, and it's hard for me to measure it for you, regards the sole. And I'm hoping that you might get an appreciation for this in the side view by looking at the gap, the thickness of this, the outsole, and the gap in the amount of gap in each of these little notches here. If you compare that with a brand new boot, go on the. I don't have a brand new image of a brand new sole for comparison for you, but if you were to look at brand new boots, you can get a sense of the relative thickness of these notches versus the thickest part of the outsole, and that relative thickness might give you a basis for comparison to show you just how much these have worn down. In some cases, those little notches have been worn right out pretty much, like in that spot. It's worn smooth. So if I were to tell you, if I were to say that there was one part that's a little worrisome anyway in terms of the durability of the boots, it would have to be the soles. That I had hoped I would see a little longer lifetime out of the soles than what I'm looking at right now. But we'll see how that goes. I think I can get one more season out of them. I'm going to try to do that. And basically have to do that in order for this to financially balance out in terms of the price of the boots and what it costs to replace the soles. So maybe you can see in some places I've measured those circular lugs. I've measured the thickness, and in some of the thinnest places they're worn down to about 1 millimeter, 1 to 1.5 millimeters. In the taller portions of some of those lugs, we're looking at, you might be looking at 2 to 2.5 millimeters of thickness. Of course, as you would expect, thickness, the level of wear varies depending on where your particular personal gait, and so obviously different portions of the boot will wear a little bit at a different rate than other portions of the boot. In my case, with my particular gait, and I think that's probably true of many people, this area near the forefoot / balls of your feet and an area near towards the end of your heels are generally the places where you see the most wear. Okay, so let me give you a shot of the other boot just for comparison. Just a quick view of the other boot for comparison. So this is also a shot. I'm shooting these boots, giving you shots of these boots. I've just cleaned them. Last night I cleaned them with Danner boot cleaner, and leather boot cleaner, and after doing so, I'm going to, as per routine maintenance on these boots, I'll be then treating them with a waterproofing agent, Danner waterproofing gel, which is necessary as once this glossy factory coating on the leather wears off. Then they don't beat up water quite as well. They may still be waterproof to some degree, but they don't seem to beat up water quite as well. So I found that rejuvenating them with some waterproofing gel, like Danner's waterproofing gel that they recommend, or Nick Wax, can restore that behavior. One spot I just wanted to show you here. This is one of the few places where I've seen some wear or damage. That's a crack that has developed in the midsole foam. I can't tell whether that's something that happened naturally, that it's a flaw, and that it might be a flaw in the manufacturing of this foam. I've seen that happen on some Danner hiking boots, although not in this specific area. However, it could also have been just a sharp, pointy thorn or stick or something that jabbed into the midsole. So I can't really make that distinction at this time. So I will show I'll show some images of what the boots look like after I've treated them with the waterproofing agent. The only other part that I can say that where I've seen some, if you want to call it, breakdown of the boot is right here by my thumb. There's this little thread there's this little piece of thread that has come loose here on this little section on the tongue. Not a big deal at the moment, but obviously that's something that loose threads will become looser over time, and they'll work their way out. So over time, if that's not addressed, this may start to come unraveled, so something to keep an eye on. Other than that, there's really not, you're really hard, other than that, the soles, the wear on the soles, which is expected, and the scuffing of the leather, overall they're holding up pretty well so far. But an important point to note here is that we're only 2 years into their lifetime of the quote-unquote last boot you will ever buy. So if this is the last boot I'm ever going to buy, it darn well better make it to 2 years without much signs of, with few signs of damage and wear, or else it's not going to come close to living up to the price tag and the hype surrounding this boot. Maybe I'll give you one, just to give you one further way to assess the level of wear on this sole, on the soles here. I got a ruler here to try and give you a measure of the thickness at some different spots on here. Okay, so that gives you a measurement there. Here's another measurement for you. Sorry, my camera's autofocus is difficult to work with at times, so please be patient here. Okay, so hopefully that that gives you some level of reference as to how these boots look like after 2 years of what I would consider heavy use. Certainly above average level of use, and especially with respect to the distances I hike when I'm fishing. Hope that helps you out. Okay, so here's a look at the boots after they've undergone the waterproofing treatment. I'll just give you a quick look at them here. Before I do that, I just want to note here there is one spot I can see on the left boot here where there's a little bit of stitching, where I just noticed after cleaning them here. Right here, there's some stitching that's coming loose. Just a little bit of stitching that's coming loose there. Not absolutely total failure, but that's how these things begin. So you'll probably notice that one feature, one thing that happens after applying the waterproofing agents is that they tend to get a little bit darker. Causes some darkening of the leather. The leather that is near the top of the boot that is essentially like new because it's protected by the gator guards or the gravel guards. Doesn't really change much with the waterproofing. It's really just there's a change in for the areas that are scuffed. There's a darkening of those areas, and I'm sorry, the lighting conditions are a little bit different. Just happen to be a little bit different from the before shots, but hopefully you can make out and appreciate that there is some darkening here, and it looks a little more uniform. Compared to the scuff marks are not as prominent after you apply the waterproofing agent, but you can see them. They're not invisible, but they are just less prominent. Okay, that's one boot, and here's the other boot. Conditions